and welcome to the January 2024 Green Line Extension Workforce and Disadvantaged Business Advisory Council meeting. And I am calling this meeting to order. Happy New Year to those who I have not seen or spoken to since the new year. Yes, this is a good virtual meeting, so no one had to get out and go and travel in the frigid cold. But I'm telling you what, I'm not going to complain about this winter this year at all. So glad to see all of you who are able to attend, and alternates who are able to attend today's meeting. Of course, a little housekeeping for this virtual meeting. Please mute yourself if you're not talking. If you're having technical difficulties, please put it in the chat and we'll do our best to assist you. And close any other teleconferencing apps that you have because we have found that improves our overall experience. Meeting handouts and presentation are posted on the project website at swlrt.org. And I know that reports and information were sent out ahead of the meeting for your review. With that, I'm going to turn it over to my co-chair, Tyler.
Thanks, Ashante. It's good to see a lot of friendly, familiar faces. I feel like it's been a long time since we've kind of all been together. So I hope everybody had a wonderful holiday. And yeah, I echo Ashanti's sentiment that being indoors on a day like today is not a unwelcome thing. So good to see everybody. I will be taking active role for the members in attendance today, and I'll be sending that to William at the conclusion of our meeting. Review of the meeting handouts. Ashanti said those were sent out ahead of time. So the November, sounds odd to say, but November minutes were included in the meeting handouts for review. Are there any edits or anything that folks would like to be mentioned or flagged on those handouts? Okay, if you think of anything, feel free to put it in the chat. Otherwise, you can also send either Ashante or myself an email noting edits or changes that you'd like to see reflected in those handouts. So if there aren't any other comments or questions regarding that, we can move into the Green Line Extension project update. And I believe James will be presenting on those. So I will turn it over to James. I actually don't see
James, if you're talking, you're on mute, or maybe Nick or someone else's.
I see Nick. So Nick, are you taking the project office updates? I don't see James on the call.
If James isn't here, I can certainly do it.
Sure, go ahead.
All right, let's roll through. Next slide. All right, here's just a shot over at 5th and K-Tel at grade crossing that was constructed towards the end of the construction season here, as well as the entrance for 17th and that roadway and the curb and gutter that was installed in sidewalk. There'll be a lot of park and ride construction as we can ramp up in this next construction season. So following up with that, this is Blake Road Station, so they got to jump on some of the curb and gutter that went in, that is being installed for the park and ride over here, as well as in Louisiana. And here's our first vertical circulator under construction on Westlake. This is the west side shot looking down the stairs here. And then moving into the big show, which is our Kenilworth LRT tunnel construction. This is the photo on the left is pretty good because you can see its proximity to Calhoun Isles Condominium Association. This is showing like kind of close to what's known as like CW18 or the exiting of the tunnel on the left, and then on the right was our teledipping construction. And so we did place our first two trimmy pours for the western heading for the tunnel. And so those went really well over the last week. And then these two shots are showing what's happening on the interior of the tunnel. So a lot of survey work going on and cleanup work inside the tunnel as we get ready for direct fixation track construction. And then here's a little busy area. This is the boat section for the east heading of the Kenilworth Tunnel. So there's two retaining walls on both sides as the grade for the LRT comes out of the tunnel and gets to a ballasted section as it approaches the Cedar Lake Channel. Next slide. And then this is looking backwards from that previous photo, looking into the two barrels of the tunnel. So we got some temporary lighting on in there, but a lot of activity coming out of the tunnel. I think they're placing their last panel pour this week, or was supposed to be this week, so we'll see. So here's some of that concrete retaining wall construction that's coming out of the boat section there. And then also have the vertical circulator at Bryn Mawr Station ongoing. And next slide. And then we've got some LRT track work. So this is just showing some skeletonized track at I-394 in Minneapolis. So getting a head start on our track work there. And then here's our other vertical circulator at Bassett Creek Valley Station. And then some more ballasted track section adjacent to the corridor protection barrier wall on the left. Going underneath I-94, and then as it approaches the Glenwood roadway and LRT bridges. So here's the shot. Glenwood's open to traffic. Both the roadway bridges are substantially complete, and then we've got the LRT section through this bridge substantially complete as well as we work on some things below and around the bridges, but safe for the pedestrians and roadway traffic. Here's some installation of the fencing installation along Glenwood as we do some cleanup projects. These two photos are just showing the 5th, 7th LRT bridges, which deck construction is complete, and we're awaiting some good weather so that we can get our direct fixation track construction underway next season. So that's civil. Move over to systems. So systems had a pretty good season, getting through some LRT signal installation and flasher installations throughout the western half of the project. This is two shots, one at Southwest Station. Next slide. And then we are also laying down some fiber optic cable in the express troughs. And this is at Golden Triangle Station. And then a lot of wire was getting clipped and hangers and messenger and contact wire strung essentially from Southwest Station up to City West Station as it's all strung out. Additionally to that, we're pulling some communication wire and installing speakers and variable message signs. This is at Opus Station. And then completing some traction power feeder pulling at 308, and that's over by the Smetana-Feltel area. Oh, that's it. Take any questions.
Any questions for Nick? All right.
Before I go, Ashanti, so I'll be on for a little bit longer for the next hour. So Elaine, you had sent me an email about the budget that was in the, I guess probably in the newspaper, the $2.8 billion. So I just so everybody knows, that's a projected estimated budget for the remainder of the project. It's not associated with one specific change order to the civil or systems projects. It does have projection for change order dollar values in there. It also has our right-of-way budget in there. It also has our consultant budgets in there. So it's a projected budget, not really an actual cost associated with one specific change order.
Thanks, Nick, for that explanation. Any other questions?
Yes, I have a follow-up question.
Go ahead.
So on this estimated budget, has the cost increased? I understand that the 2.86 billion is a projected dollar amount, but I'm just wondering if there's been the change orders have increased the project amount.
Yeah, so yes, there's change orders that do contribute to that estimate and that estimated value. And then we've also got the contract change value for each specific contract. So yes, we are, the project is costing more than what was anticipated. That's where we went from our $2.3 billion budget to this $2.8 billion budget.
Okay, so whatever changes have been approved, can you send MDHR those those budget changes? That's what we're looking for.
Okay. I mean, I
Thank
mean,
you.
it's a lot of change orders. We're talking about 1,000+ change orders. That's just for civil. And if you're looking for a total dollar value that accumulates to 2.8 billion, you're not going to see that.
Okay, let me give you some background. The last dollar amount that we received was 1032702,453.61. If that dollar amount has changed, that's what we need.
Okay. It changes every month, right? Because we're executing change orders every month.
Can I make a recommendation?
Sure.
Given the amount of change orders and the frequency in terms of changing, Elaine, would MDHR be happy with maybe a quarterly summary that provides the dollar value that's represented and kind of summarizing not specifics to the change order, but the type of work. So if it was, if it's categorized based on the scope of work versus each individual change order that represents that scope. And maybe I don't know enough to make that recommendation. Nick, you'll have to help me if that's.
Yeah, I'll have to think about that, what that looks like, because I mean, that puts a lot of burden on me, I think, to be able to, if you're looking for how that money is distributed to subcontractors and DBE performers, that's a different tool, I think, that John gets monthly from LMJV and APJV. So I guess I think I could think about what that looks like.
All right. Well, you let me know. You tell me how you want to handle that,
Yeah.
we'll work it out.
Yeah, I could give you the current dollar value, Elaine, if that's what you're looking for the civil and systems contracts.
That would be good. We were also kind of looking, and Tyler, please weigh in on this. What work is this? Work that has been performed, work that has been included? We're just trying to get a handle on what work is still remaining.
Sure. Okay.
But we do want the current dollar amounts, the dollar changes.
Okay. I'll see what I can get you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks. Now we can move on to the consent business items. The DB and workforce reports were sent out for the committee to review and are also available on the project webpage. Do we have any questions relative to the DBE report specifically? All right, hearing none, we can move on.
Okay, so moving to workforce, likewise, was sent out for review ahead of time. Are there any questions regarding the workforce report? You can go to the next slide. Yeah. Okay, if there are no questions regarding the workforce report, we can move into non-consent business, starting with Krista and LMJV's update.
Wonderful. Thanks, Tyler. A few more slides.
There you go.
And there we go. There was a little bit of a decrease from November to December. So December, we had still a good number of our DB contractors out on site working on the project, especially with the weather that we had. So as you can see, great amount, great work. And moving forward, you're going to see a little bit less for these next couple months, but getting ready for the projections for the coming season, we have quite a bit of DBE contractors left to be performing work on the project. And their contracts continue to exceed, as the report showed, well above the goal for the project. So thank you for that part. On to the next slide, please. Unless there's questions about DBE. None, then we'll jump right into the workforce. I've got some really cool slides to show you guys about workforce. This first one, of course, is recap of December last year. So the ending of the last year for December, regarding each one of our trades and the participation for those trades total. And it's great to be able to show, especially if you look at the carpenters, cement masons, and I don't have, oh yeah, that's right, because painters were off. Sorry, it was their year totals. But great participation in laborers, I wanted to point out. Why don't we go to the next slide, please? Here is the in and out report that you get to see every month, and December reflects our seasonal layoffs, as you can see. We had 4 transfers out of the project onto others, and we had 13 layoffs. And remember, this is within the LMJV, Lunda, and CS McCrossin teams. If no questions about the in and out for the month of December, let's move on to the next slide, please. Here comes my fun part, you guys. Beware. Hope you're all sitting, because this is some pretty exciting stuff. And for me to be able to do a graph, watch out. And I have a couple people online that were part of the team that got to share my excitement. So anyways, first one here. We are looking at a report that shows the 2023 entirety. So all of our trades, all of the project for the year. I am showing you our top trades for female participation. And I know previous years, there were a lot of people that asked about the painting on the project. And I said, they have such a small scope, well, not a small scope, but small window of when they're on site. They're going to come, they're going to do, and they're going to go. 2023 was that area that I had been referring to you guys. And I really wish they were online to hear kudos from all of you for their participation for female. As you can see, their number is their participation, by the way, is the red on the picture, which tends, except for twice when they had some offsite stuff, they exceeded female participation. Again, small work scope, small amount of hours, but excellent participation. Okay. Moving on to the other trades, as you guys can see, and this report is also in everything that's printed out, that John shared with you guys in the email today, which is great, and it's online. So painters, iron workers, truck drivers, take a look at those numbers, carpenters, electricians, and laborers. Those are our top trades that were a part of this report. If I put every single trade onto this report, you guys would be going bonkers with your eyes. So anyways, as you can see, and you can see the trends, time of year and stuff, and we have exactly what and why, the ups and downs, the ebbs and tides, but great participation again. Let's go to the next slide because this will be the same picture, but for the POCI participation. Again, please look at the ones that you have and you're able to, you know, expand and look at closer. But kudos again regarding the painting. Okay. Well above the goal for the project. Okay. Here is a company that kept telling us, wait till we get on. We'll show you. We've been doing some work. They did it. But if you also look, you guys, I'm very excited to show you guys, take a look at the green, the kind of limey green, it's above. Those are the laborers. We have cement masons that have gone up and down right around that 32%, as well as we have truck drivers on there, iron workers, electricians, carpenters, and pile drivers. Those are the top performing trades for the project. Any questions about either one of those that are trade specific overall participation for the year? If not, we're going to go on to the next slide.
Krista,
Yes.
I'm not always a good listener, so you might mention who was the painting contractor?
Rainbow.
Oh, Rainbow.
Yep. Yep. And their lead on the project, Jay Long, I cannot say enough great things about them. Great crews too.
Thank you.
You bet, Ashanti. All right, you guys, this one. This is the LMJV specifically. Our 4 unions that we are signatory on the project, the LMJV. Carpenters, cement masons, laborers, pile drivers. Okay? There's the 4. We don't have 49ers for the LMJV. That's London, CS McCrossin separate. But for our trade participation for the LMJV for the year, for the entire year of 2023 for POCI, I really wanted to show you guys the breakdown of journey per, versus, journey per people, apprentices, and then total, okay, for each one of their divisions. So if you look at carpenter apprentices for 2023 were just minutes under 50% participation for carpenter apprentices on our project. So when we talk with everybody in our big group discussions about those ratios and about using journey people, this is for the entire year for one of our busiest trades. And we exceeded it, not by a little bit, or weren't just below it like the others, which are still great, but we exceeded it. So I really wanted to show this picture because it does take a lot from our team. Brian B., our lead, is on the call, as well as Tracy, our EEO officer for the Lunda part. You guys, the work that's being done from the LMJV team is incredible. You can look at we have the other ones also, the cement masons, the laborers, the apprentices weren't there. The availability and everything. Last year, we talked about it in a meeting just the other day. They weren't as easy, to have. They weren't available and everything. But then look at pile drivers. That's the other one I'd love to celebrate, because pile driving, I don't know why, but 10, 20 years ago, that's what I would have done. Maybe because I'm so loud myself, but 25% there for the apprentices on them. I think that's pretty darn cool. Any questions about this one? If not, the best ones are coming up.
I have questions.
I love it.
I don't see equipment operators on here.
You weren't listening at the beginning of it, Ashante.
Told you I'm
This
not
is-
always a good listener.
Either
I
am I.
forgot
That's
to
we're
say
gonna
that. I
catch up.
forgot to say that this time.
So you refresh, LMJV does not have operators for our scope of work. We have subs that are our operators, such as CS McCrossan and Lunda. But the LMJV does not have. We don't have the operators. So that's why you're not seeing them. This is only
Gotcha.
the LMJV.
Gotcha. Understood now. The other thing is, and maybe either you or Dan can talk to this a little bit. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time, but just apprentices in general and some of the ratios that exist within the trades. A lot of times when we're sitting or we're talking with stakeholders, community, it's a point that's not always understood, and they think that apprentices can represent or make up a big chunk of what's going on the project. Can you or Dan kind of talk about that a little bit and just go into that?
Sure, I absolutely love it. And Dan, go ahead and jump in too. But the great thing is one of the things that you guys are going to hear about in a little bit is just this past Tuesday, we, meaning the LMJV team, Wanda, CS McCrossan, and our 4 signatory unions, including operators, but all of them, we had our second meeting of our task force working together. And a big part of it is, we did talk quite a bit about the ratios, and the impact those do and don't make on projects, and the importance, the originality of, the ratios. Number one is safety. Safety, 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 especially when you're looking at an active project such as a light oil project that has so many entities of, oh my goshes, and I said it the right way. You have a live railroad literally feet from you. You're digging into ground where there's active and on the utilities and everything. You're dealing with active traffic. So ratios, safety is a huge piece of it. But another part about the ratios is the education, is the mentoring and everything that needs to take place, regarding it. So overall, that's kind of my easy, hey, talk to me like I'm the neighbor in the garage part about the ratios. There's many more aspects to it, but those are the big dogs that we've talked about on this project since the get-go. Dan, and also, Ashante, you guys, there's 2 more slides regarding graphs, and they do focus around the apprenticeship that I look forward to showing you guys. Dan, do you want to add to the ratio part of it?
I just went to, I don't know if there's a way I can share this link, but I went to the Department of Labor and Industries website, and there's like a page and a half of information that shares what the ratio are. If you just Google Minnesota Department of Labor and Industry apprenticeship ratio, you can find that fairly easily, I think.
And it's really good information.
Well, I found the chat. I'll put it in the chat.
Okay, thanks.
I'm not that familiar with WebEx, but everybody does things differently. Basically, there's not an unlimited number of apprentices that can be on a project, right? Because they have to have people who know what they're doing to show them what to do and supervise them and make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing and doing it safely. All those things. I'm happy to answer any specific questions, but that's kind of our thoughts around it.
Thanks, Dan. How's that, Ashante?
Great, efficient, and to the point. Thank you.
You bet. All right, if we could go on to the next slide, please. Aha. Look at this. Nice and simple and easy, but boy, very impactful, you guys. And I told you, this one and the next one for me are pretty exciting. This is the best. So again, this is for the entire year of 2023. Okay. All of the hours put together, not just LMJV, but every contractor that had workforce hours for the project. When you look at total total journey participation on the project. Okay, the hours, we have just over 5% participation were journey level females working on the project. But which is actually just a tad a bit above, right around there with the highway heavy industry average. Not the entire industry, but highway heavy. Okay, when we compare to MnDOT projects and other, civil construction projects. But now let's go over to the apprentices in the middle, the beautiful yellow that is up there. Yes, the goal is up at 20%, but if you look, all apprentices on our project for this past year, 12.5% were female apprentices, female apprentices, the one that we've been talking about for 4 years now being hard. 2023, our project was double the industry average for female apprenticeship participation, and it's holding for that average. And there's some plans moving forward on some things that we will be training, some education from advocacy that we are going to, our LMJV Lunda team are partnering with our unions as well as our CBOs about this. And then again, the last one, the green. Don't you like the color selection? But anyways, the green is the total workforce participation on the project. And you guys see these numbers every month. The total female participation for our project for 2023 is just under 6%. But I will tell you, for the last 4 years, from the start of the project to today, we are just under 8%, and that holds. Any questions about female participation that I'm showing you here?
Of course,
if not, we can. Yep.
So 12.43% in apprenticeship is outstanding, first of all. So kudos. And, the last time I looked, and I didn't look at highway heavy specific, but just industry in the apprenticeship Department of Labor standards was about 8%. So I've always been saying, with this 20% goal, if we're not actively trying to work together to influence that, I don't know where these women apprenticeship or women participation numbers are going to come from if we're not creating and promoting, advertising the pipeline, and that takes all of us. I'm curious to understand if there has been any movement in the upward direction in apprenticeship for women across the trades. Is it still at 8%? Is it moving up? Maybe Dan might know as well. I'm curious about that.
I can tell you it is definitely trade specific, extremely trade specific. Again, conversation at Tuesday's meeting with our union partners, which is so exciting. It's such a great team. And we did a review, amongst all the different trades that are on this project, which, they pretty much all are, but guess what? We're outside. There's a huge difference when you look at trades and you look at where that needle is and which ones are rising, which ones are maintaining, and which ones are dropping. Because that's a big focus for us for 2024 is the retention and advocacy. What are we doing once we get people in onto our project or into our companies that are on the project, and just working together as a team for resources. Dan, what do you say about the different trades and the trends?
I'll use Ashante's line and say I don't always pay attention. Well, so I'd just ask to repeat the question, Ashante.
Sure. The last time I took a look at the apprenticeship numbers, and this was across trades, and it wasn't specific to highway heavy. The rates were around 8% for women. And my constant question, because we've been talking about this for a while, we have this 20% goal, but I'm trying to understand, where are we going to get the women? Where's the pipeline, and directing efforts towards growing the pipeline? And I'm talking about all of us. And I'm curious to know if any of our efforts have contributed to any growth, in any movement upwards from that number, from 8% women in the apprenticeship program. Has it stagnated there? Has it reduced? Is it increasing?
Yeah, so I haven't looked at the numbers probably in the last year. I will say prior to that, I think we saw a strong upward trend, right? I hope that has continued, but I can't speak on recent data because I haven't, I don't see that data on a frequent basis, only when I ask for it. I will also share I'm currently in Florida with NAB2 at their convention, where our leadership meeting, where they're rolling out several initiatives in the next year to start tackling workplace culture concerns. In December, I was in DC for the Tradeswomen Build Nations conference, which we hosted in Minnesota a couple years ago, where I think they had 4,000 tradeswomen there, having some very real conversations around what it's like to be a female on a construction site. And that has reached the highest levels of our leadership, and its commitment from all throughout the national leadership and Minnesota leadership. We passed a resolution at our Minnesota convention back in July, advocating for our membership to reflect the population we serve. They use those same words today at the national level. I would tell you that if we're going to use the 32% person of color goal as the benchmark for persons of color based on the population, I think the female goal is actually 50% or 51, I believe, is the actual number, right? So that's my goal. My personal goal is to get us up there. It's going to take a long time. I think Krista or Barb might remember what the goal was prior to Commissioner Lindsay, was 7%.
7%.
And we're up to 20 as the goal. We used to struggle to meet the 7% goal.
We recommended back when in 2017, when there was the task force, with Harry Melander, myself, and a few others representing the construction side, we had recommended that the goal be 10 or 11%. So when it was 20%, we kind of went, woo! And again, I still say that was some of our trades. There is such a big difference, and I mean this for everybody across the board. If you look at numbers of members, for the trades, you guys, as a great, picture, take a look at that. It'll also show you some of the trades are much more glamorous, not the right word, you guys, or a little bit easier than others, and then you look at our climate here in Minnesota when you talk about highway heavy construction compared to vertical construction. And as you guys all know, I came from the vertical construction side, so it's really tough. But I will tell you, the one thing I love and I'm excited for, and we have a great 2 months away, you guys, with women in construction coming up. We have some great things being planned for not just the week, but for the month, but also things that are being launched then to continue forward to help with that retention, with the gender bias, be more than a bystander. The carpenters have a great program with that. Just that whole advocacy. I have an upcoming meeting that has been go-to since the Capitol project. There's a group of tradeswomen who get together on kind of a quarterly basis, just to get together and talk. They have another one coming up soon. We have our next in our series of Rosies and Robbies of the Rail, that, for mental and, well health. This topic is going to be, should I stay or should I go? See, I'm always music themed here, watch out, but it's that whole conversation, the roundtable discussion with everybody, unions, CBOs, contractors, are going to be based around the women that do come. We're going to hear from those that do come into construction, are in construction, and how do we keep them? How do they stay? Or what advocacy is working, what needs to change, and what needs to grow. And our focus at Lunda is very strong regarding this, which is really exciting for Tracy and I to hear. So you're gonna see it, Ashante. I can't give you what trades, but we're definitely gonna be out there, and it's exciting. So thank you. So with that, if you don't mind, let's go over to the POCI report. That's next.
Barb has a question.
Yes. Or
You're on mute, Barb.
Okay, so not really a question. I wanted to answer your question. I actually have the most recent December apprenticeship numbers. We are at 7.75% in Minnesota, so we haven't changed much, to your point, from where we were. That's still the number that just came through from the Department of Labor this week. So there's that. And then I just want, I'm just going to say my thought here. I think it's absolutely ridiculous to say that we should look like the face of the industry and think that everybody is going to want to do any job at the amount of people that there are versus jobs in an industry. It's absolutely ridiculous to think that 50% of women are going to choose this as a career, or 50% are going to be garbage truck drivers or whatever. It's what people decide that they want to do for themselves. It's not about what number the people are, and that's what we're going to set numbers on. So I just wanted to say that. I think that that's the most ridiculous methodology I've ever heard of. So thanks, bye.
No, I always like to look at it, Barb, is that kind of what you said, that it is accessible to those that want to be in it, and that there aren't any barriers for those that want to make that decision and get into the industry.
Right. And I love what Dan said about they're hearing from the women, and they're hearing what the struggles are, and they're looking at that, and they're going to start strategizing over that. I mean, those are the steps we need to take, not just look at like, hey, let's make a magic wand and let's say, okay, we want to have 50% or 20%. It never makes sense to me. But we want to make sure that people have access to these jobs. You're absolutely correct. So thanks.
Thanks, Barb.
And we need to make sure that they're treated well when they have the jobs.
Culture of care, guys. Culture of care. It's awesome. I couldn't agree with you more there. So with that, oopsie, my phone, I almost did something. POCI, same type of report, exact same. For total journey people on the project for 2023, all trades, our participation was 24%, a little above. I'm going to do grade school at, round down, believe it or not, even though I like rounding up all the time. But anyways, journey apprenticeship participation. Getting there, you guys. Look at that. You asked about what did it used to be. Well, 2011 was when the goal was changed from 11% to 32. And that's when I think all the general contractors all fell off their chairs. And Commissioner Peters from Mindali at the time, as well as Commissioner Lindsay from Human Rights, pulled a group of us together. I had the honor of representing A&P at the time. We had Gunner Electric there and 2 other contractors at the table, and talked about what it would be like, what were our opinions. And we said we have to do it together. And if you look right there, look at our project, 24%. And if you look back to the original light rail project, the first, not the original, but the first, it was not 24%, and this is journey participation, you guys. These are skilled, educated, trained workforce here. Again, kudos to our field teams. Then look at the apprenticeship numbers. You guys, we're at 23% participation for apprentices on the project. Again, tough nut project, great job field team, and overall 24%. I think those numbers are showing that trend upward. So Ashante, let's take the question about the female participation. Let's flip it over to the minority POCI side, you know, the people of color side. The trends are moving upward. They definitely are. And I'm seeing it across the board in all the trades. Our union participation, the work that they are doing with their apprenticeship, you know, with their training centers, with their outreach, along with the great programs, you know, that are out there. You know, we talk about them all the time. The growth of building strong communities. They have their new class starting January 27th. It's going to be another huge year for them. Goodwill Easter Seals. They even have a winter program, very small numbers, but we have them coming out to the project tomorrow to talk with them. You know, these programs, the high school programs, Construct Tomorrow, Trades Academy, Lake Street Works. Watch out, guys. This is the must watch program for the next year. There's so many great ones. Summit Academy, you know, there's programs out there that are working really much more together and closer with the unions than I've seen ever before. So I hope to see that continues. Any other questions regarding the POCI information? Okay, if not,
this is Sean Skibby.
Hi,
can you guys hear me?
How are ya?
I'm good. How are you, Krista?
Wonderful. Thank you for being here today, Sean.
Yes, thanks. I have a question for both BIPOC and women, and I heard the commentary about the goals, and I guess I'm just wondering, is there a number we should be looking towards other than, I mean, I hear the criticism of 20%, and that's fine. I want to make sure we are not just happy to arrive at whatever number we arrive at, and that we're intentional about getting to a point that we at least have some agreement is achievable or the right number for this project. So I'm just wondering if you have any insight on what that might be. And I won't limit it to you, Krista, if Barb has something in mind too. I would just be curious to hear what that is, so that we have a foundation that's beyond just wherever we happen to be at the moment.
Sure. Sean, in my personal opinion, you know, after working in this area of construction for 20 years now, you know, and very actively, as you all know, I don't think there should be that overall all construction industry two numbers, 32, 20%. Okay. There is such differences, and I know it makes people's life easier. No, it does not. Each trade is completely different than the other. Some can be closer put together, you know, we know that, that's good. And then, you know, again, when you talk about vertical construction compared to horizontal construction, there are such differences, such huge differences, and the impact that it puts on the contractors. And I'm going to put it out there, you guys, I'm going to put them together. And I always tell you to keep them separate. But when we have these type of goals, and I'm going to focus on our beautiful project right here, and yes, it is beautiful. I said it, you know, the DBEs that we have working on this project, it really puts a damper sometimes on their capability to truly perform the greatness of why they're on the project. Okay. That goal, they're out there, they're good faith efforts. I'll hold their hand, you know, till the day we close out on the project, but overall those two goals, that's my information. If you want to know what I think this project should be at right now, you know what, the POCI 32%, you've seen the trends, and I can't wait to show you guys the trend from, you know, 2011 to now. you know, that growth. You know, there's a difference there. I don't know. But when it comes to female participation on highway heavy construction, you can see the numbers, you know. Yeah, the goal was 7% goal to strive towards, right? You want to move up. Well, you don't go from here to all of a sudden jump off the bridge way up here. And I did mean bridge on purpose. We are the bridge experts. My magic number when it comes to highway heavy construction for the major hard part of it would be 12%. Honestly. And that is experience.
I'm sorry, Kristen.
Yep.
And I guess, Sean, that was kind of the emphasis behind my question. Because for me, I just want to see the number improving and increasing at the very least. I mean, the goals are the goals. They are what they are. We can complain, we can be critical, but in the end, they are what they are. And two, they do provide a level of transparency and accountability to this work. But the other part about it is that if we're not actively working together to promote, educate to women about the opportunities, availability, then we can't expect for that number to grow, so that they do have the information, the connections, and education that they can make their own choice of where they want to and what they want to. But the overall, for me, is that we're moving in a upward trajectory. And to be honest, I don't have a magic number in mind because there's a lot of factors that contribute to this. What I will say, and the one thing, if you listen to economists, what they told us is that there were a lot of women that left the workforce, not just construction trades, the workforce period, during COVID. And the expectation was that a lot of them are not going to come back for a number of various reasons. So understanding those factors and understanding kind of what we need to do to promote these jobs and to get that number moving in the right direction takes work, it takes effort, it takes focus, and we can't just expect it to happen just on its own.
Yeah, thank you both for saying that. I mean, I agree on the desired path being the trend line. I just and I think it's important to note that the goal is the goal, and there is a lot that goes into that, and maybe there's a lot that goes into where we are, including women leaving the workforce too. So I appreciate that context. I do, yeah. I think it's important that we keep moving in the right direction, and so I do think movement is the key. And that's part of why I asked the question, because I was like, well, if we can't agree that 20% is the number, or that any particular number is the number, then where do people individually think it should be? Where does the joint venture think it should be? So yeah, so appreciate the conversation, and I think we found the common denominator here. We both want that number to go up, so I think probably everybody here does. So I hope that's true. I'll just leave it at that. Thanks.
I mean, I think you said it. The goal is the goal, right? I'd encourage us to hit. I mean,
Yep.
like you heard what I said
Yep.
about what I think the number should be, but I think we should hit the goal we have before we, I think that's I don't know why the commissioner said it where he said it, but I'm assuming that he wanted to make something that was achievable in a period of time that would encompass his or our lifetimes.
All right,
So-
I have one more slide. And poor systems contract, poor Mike has been so patiently waiting his turn. But you guys, it's the kickoff to this year, and it's pretty dang exciting. These meetings truly are important, and moving forward are going to be even more important. Just keep me to that one. So good faith effort. I had a bunch I could have shown you guys. But I kept it to this month. Be ready for next. But anyways, good faith efforts for this upcoming month. Like I said, Tuesday, we had our meeting number 2 of our Union and Lunda LMJV collaboration. The focus for this meeting was regarding 2024 projections, forecasts, as well as workforce outreach planning together. And the discussion, like previous, was over the top great. We had at least 2, if not 3 or 4 representatives from each of the unions. The carpenters couldn't be there that day because of a lot of their education pieces going on. So we will be having a separate meeting with them, but we've already scheduled the next one. Well, not scheduled, but we've already set that there will be the next one in March. Pretty exciting. The other thing, as you guys all know, the last 2 days has been the AGC Construction Summit. LMJV and Lunda had a good representation of people at it. Brian B., who's online, and Tracy were 2 of the team that were there for sure. Then we had yesterday, you guys, our monthly subcontractor workforce meeting. Great discussion. It was a virtual meeting to kick things off for the year and to talk about the upcoming year and the requirements and everything. So it was great. Tomorrow, pretty excited. We have Julie and others from Goodwill Easter Seals bringing their winter program to the light rail project. We are in the process of wrapping up, updating my fun facts presentation for the light rail project that we will be giving to them tomorrow. We are not doing a project tour since we are very limited to our project right now. Skeletal crews, except for, of course, in the beautiful tunnel part of the project. Then so we have that, and we have question and answer with a group of our team from the LMJV that'll be there. And then it's just working on more. I have a couple other graphs that I'm trying to wrap up and get ready, as well as compiling all of our subcontractor information for closeout and for projections of remaining work. That is it from me, you guys, unless there's questions. But look forward to some great stuff ahead. And thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Krista. Before we move, I just want to address the conversation that we just had. Thank you all for that input. I want to be very clear about a couple things. The commissioner at MDHR is the one that sets the goals. So Commissioner Lucero is the one that, and I understand Commissioner Lindsay had different goals, and I'm hearing you guys loud and clear. Here's the thing. The goals are meant to reflect the initiatives and the philosophies of the department and our role, and that's to create a Minnesota that is discrimination-free and providing equal and equitable opportunity for everybody in all spaces, not just, and in the construction space where the goals are set. They're meant to be lofty. They're meant to be at a point where it seems really like unattainable. And I hear you what you're saying, that the numbers of reality don't always reflect the goals that are set. If you don't have the population and even the pipeline to support and get there numerically to begin with, what's the point of having a goal that's literally not achievable? I get that. But it's the idea that it's supposed to be that way because it's supposed to not settle. You can't establish a world of non-discrimination by settling for mediocrity and putting goals at things that are already feasible and achievable. It has to be above and beyond that to push the narrative. And you can feel, I get what you're saying and I get the feelings, but that is the reason that the goals are set at what they are. And look, compliance in the department size is not as determined by, are you meeting the goals? That would make our lives a lot easier at the department of, hey, are your raw numbers hitting 32 and 20? If they are, you're in compliance. If they're not, then you're not. They're goals. They're not, there's a reason that 32 and 20 is not written into the legislative language. They're goals. It really comes down to that's the place that we want to shoot for. It's the stars. And based on, performance coupled with things like good faith efforts, things like that. Krista, we're in our meetings a lot. Mike, we're going to be starting ours here pretty shortly. That's how we determine. So we're not by any realm, judging success or compliance based on workforce raw data numbers. We certainly look at them, and numbers tell a story. It's a way to have something be measurable and observable to know where we are at. But to be clear, from the department's perspective, the goals are what they are, and it's for a reason. And it's not because we want to set people up to fail, and it's not because we want to force contractors to have people enter an industry that they don't want to be in and aren't going to be supported. And hey, I just need you to come into the room so I can meet metrics on this thing. Like, by all means, I'm going to be honest. I would much rather see a workforce below the goals, but comprised of people that want to be there and are investing in the industry, and the industry is investing in them and are being retained and have a career and are living a good life, over a project with higher goals with grievances all over the place and not retaining anybody because it's a horrible experience, and then the industry is suffering for years to come because of it. I would much rather have the first. I really would, and that means lowered numbers of raw data, and that's okay in my mind, in the department's eyes. So I just wanted to make it clear that I hear what you're saying, but the goals are set at the lofty heights that they are, and it's for a reason. Okay. Any other questions for Krista? If not, I will turn it over to Mike to go over the systems work. Thanks, guys.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Happy New Year. What a good conversations, and happy to be patient. And Tyler, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Elaine and I have been meeting already. I mean, we've been meeting frequently when I go up there and talking about the project. So I thought we were meeting, but we'll continue to meet. We participated.
Mike is correct. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks. We've participated in mock interviews at Summit Academy, and really, the electrician field is a great field. It's a great career. And Aldridge and Parsons were focused on careers, for opportunities for POCI and for women, and getting them into the trades. The only way you can get them into the inside electricians is taking the test, and you just got to increase those numbers. And when they get in there and have that opportunity, they're going to have that opportunity. And we think Summit Academy does a great job. We're meeting, again, another mock interviews there on February 23rd. Back in December, we participated in Mental Wellness Week, and we continue to promote mental wellness in the construction trades. It's a big deal. We had new DB subcontractors. On-call Pavement's going to be joining us. Econ is going to be joining us under Meyer. So that was just something I got noticed today. So, we got that going on. The next slide. So, in November, we worked about 4,200 hours. In December, we're about 3,700 hours. We're holding steady with the electricians. There's roughly maybe 29 electricians working. And then, maybe, the rest are fighting over, 500 hours. You could have maybe 20 or 30 people that are fighting over 500 hours. So they're coming in and out, and there's not a lot of steady, but the steady ones have been the electricians. And, the female, we're holding steady. Overall, the project, I think about 12%, maybe 11.8, 11.5, maybe. And the POCIs around 20, 21. It was increasing there during the peak months, and it's fallen back a little bit to 20%, but it's holding steady at about 20% for the electricians for POCI there. The next slide. In November, we had gunner, MBE, and safety signs working in November. And I think in December, we might have had I don't think safety sign worked. I don't think MBE worked. I think it was just gunner. Might have been one other minor one in December. So, it's basically the bulk of the hours are Premier, Aldridge, and a little bit of gunner. And those are the bulk of the hours that we're doing right now. Any questions?
I just have one. Mike, you mentioned, and I think most of us aware that the apprenticeship trade and union is set up differently than most in terms of the licensing and the testing that occurs. And I know that historically the electricians union, can't even think of the acronym now, but in any event, they have initiated some initiatives on their own to try and promote the opportunities and educate folks. Both, yes, thanks, Elaine, IBEW, to get BIPOC individuals and women into the electrical trades. Are you aware of any initiatives that they have currently going on that we can promote to folks that are part of this committee?
When I was talking to Building Strong Communities over at that Roads of the Rails networking event, I think it was in November, maybe late October, and Building Strong Communities is talking about some special relationship they got with 110, and they're currently in talks with 292. I don't know all the details of that, but I know the electricians do a very good job of retaining women, probably the best in the industry of all the trades. I would say the IBEW has the best retainage of women and minorities compared to any other trade. I know we're proud of that. Just getting the numbers in there is the key, and outside work, and inside vertical versus horizontal, it's a lot, it's just a different breed. The highway heavy is a different breed than the vertical. And I know that they're doing well overall. I know IBEW has networks, mentorship programs for women, for minorities, for Native Americans, for all different types that support one another, trying to increase that retention, to focus on retention and keeping them, getting to be from apprentice to journeyman. For us on this project, Gunner had, just looking at the numbers, Gunner had 6 electricians working on this project. 4 of them are women. Premier had 9, 2 of them are women. Aldridge had 4. None of them were women, but we got steady with the journeymen. The ones that have hours now that are all journey women hours that we're focused on, just on that report I showed you. But it's just, you got to have 2 journeymans to 1 apprentice. So it's just, you can't just throw an apprentice out there. So it's challenging, but we keep it up and we support. I know their network, and I know that the retention is a big deal for the trades. And I know the electricians do it. IBEW does a good job with that, especially in Minneapolis. 292, I'll put a good plug in for them. Does that answer your question? So I'm not aware of other activities, special outreach. I can inquire and see what they're doing and see how we can help and participate. That's a good exercise for me. I can find out what they're doing.
No, thanks for that information. I think just for our purposes at this committee, we have various participants who are assisting individuals in their communities to get access to certain jobs and opportunities. So if they can, provide some of this information to the folks that they work with, that was my goal with this question, to help connect the folks that participate on this committee with anything that's going on. So yes, thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll just share that they just hired, I know the electricians just hired an outreach coordinator. I'll put her name and number in the chat. They got some funding from, I think, Department of Labor to help do outreach. So they continue to evolve, I'll say.
You guys, I put in the chat just a quick short note, but many of our unions are doing exactly what the electricians are. There was some great grant money this last year that many jumped onto, and some have had existing programs for quite some time. The cement masons, oh my goodness, at least 7 years they've been involved with the TARO and with MnDOT/DEED regarding women in construction, women in POCI specific programs to bring them in, get them trained. And the success has been incredible with the programs. The carpenters have it, the laborers have it, the 49ers have something going on also. So it's really cool to be able to pull all that information together. And the thing is building strong communities is involved with each one of those also. So it's great. Electricians, I couldn't agree more with what Mike had to say about the great things, you know, and the programs that they have. And they're national. They have a chapter here of the Electrical Contractors Association that has a women group. That the Minnesota group is fantastic. I've gotten to speak with them a couple of times now.
Well, any other questions for Mike? Okay, I'll turn it over to Ashante for the committee discussion.
Thanks, Tyler. The last several meetings, let me just say this. We have been participating, at least the Metropolitan Council staff, in an industry committee. I know the last several meetings have been canceled due to lack of participation in agenda topics. And the proposal is to incorporate those agenda topics as they arise into this meeting. And so we'd like to hear input from the committee around that and see if we can come to some sort of conclusion or resolution on that. And I will turn to John or Julianne if they have any more context or information around that.
Hey everybody, so John Tao here. I would say that, yeah, I've scheduled the meetings and then sent out emails to folks to gauge where would the participating folks want to steer the conversation or the direction in, and haven't gotten too much feedback about where to go, so I wasn't sure which direction to go, and it seems like there's not that much interest or capacity to take on this conversation in addition to this monthly meeting as well. So yeah, that was my proposal and suggestion, to incorporate it back into this particular meeting and handle it here. I think that everybody has time, or the majority of the folks that participate have the capacity and time to attend this particular meeting. So I thought that this would be a much better venue to address those questions and handle some of those concerns that are raised up in that other meeting. So that was just my proposal.
In my response to that, in the LMJV contractors, this is the DWAC meeting for the light rail project. And if you guys want to incorporate it together, then I suggest it being at the end of the meeting and not mixed in, because one of the biggest reasons why our attendance on this meeting dropped, but is coming back, FYI, with the union CBOs and contractors, is because of it not having and keeping the focus on the light rail project and the DBE and workforce conversations that should be taking place on this project. So that is my 50 cents worth, not 2 cents. If you're going to do it at the end and keep them separate. That way people can or can't continue forward if they choose. Thanks.
As I recall, when the presentation on the DBE and workforce participations that John and I used to do became consent items, one of the reasons was so that the committee could have more time to discuss pipeline issues, industry, implementation ideas that could create opportunities for increasing the participation of women and people of color. And that was the whole reason for doing that. Since the consent items and, have become nonverbal, and the industry committee meeting was created, these meetings have drastically reduced in time because there's nothing left to say. There's another industry committee. And so I agree with John that we need to bring that back into a discussion within this group, within this committee. Because that was the initial recommendation and stuff. So that's what I have to say. I vote in favor. If I can get 2, that would be even better.
If nobody else, I see Barb came on camera, so I'm gonna let you go. I'll go last.
Oh, sure, I'm unmuted. I just want to say that for an advocate out here that's running a small business and a nonprofit, there's only so much time that I have to give to all these. And we are making significant progress on the Blue Line extension, determining what we want to do. So having this, it seems like a duplication of Shanti and team. I mean, I know that you're not all on that other meeting, but for me, it's a duplication of where I'm putting my time. We're having these discussions over here, then we're having them over here, and then they're having at MNDA, then there's a steering committee over here, and it just gets to be overwhelming at some point for somebody that's got to attend all these meetings, which of course is my job, don't get me wrong, but we're never bringing them all back in. And pie in the sky and new people here, and it gets really, really hard. And so the attitude, getting done with this meeting earlier, love it. Couldn't be happier. But I only have so much of my time to give to all of these committees and discussions. So.
I'm right there with Barb. Seriously, because there's so many different meetings about this type of stuff away from the project. Remember, keep that separate. And so many times people forget which meeting they were in when they heard what speaker or this or that. And then you keep duplicating things, and I'm sorry to say you were in a meeting, check the box. Hey, there's my good faith effort. Having these meetings, it's all talk. Okay, so I'm going to go back to what I said originally. These meetings are extremely important for this project if done the right way with the right intent. And I do want Elaine's reports and John's. I'd like to see the DBE picture. I'd like to see the workforce picture before we go into our guts about why we do have the DBE percentage we do, or why we do have the workforce we do. Those two things were it didn't make sense. I mean, to go into extreme detail and read word for word what the reports say that are right up on the screen. No, we can all read it, but at least it's there and the discussion is there. What I didn't like at the original parts of the meetings, when all of a sudden we started talking about all these other things that had nothing to do with the light rail project, and many people dropped off because there was a lot of finger pointing going on instead of progress moving forward, or what are we doing as a team to continue to, as Ashanti and I like to say, recruit, advocate, educate, retain, right? You guys, it's not hard to get back to it, but let's get back to, we're having a committee discussion here about an industry committee meeting that failed. It doesn't belong here. There's my opinion. Put it at the end or whatever, but sorry, I had to throw in because I like Elaine's reports. I like the DBE reports, but the focus needs to be on this project.
All right. Well, my perspective, is that, you know, first of all, I'm not going to be hypocritical because my participation in the industry committee was sparse at best. What I will say is, and I think Barb mentioned this, I think there is some good conversation and progress relative to the Blue Line extension, which is a project that's years down the road. So we have the opportunity to influence process outcomes at the appropriate times. And I think that's a good thing. The other part about it is, though, that I'm in a role and with an organization that has a fiduciary, regulatory, and compliance responsibility around all of our projects. And we are continually seeking feedback, input around how we can improve those outcomes and those processes for all of our projects. And my thought is I would rather have folks be able to contribute in some way or some fashion to those conversations and to those decisions that get made, as opposed to finding out or having those decisions thrust upon folks in the industry. I'm not going to argue what if this is the right place for some of those conversations, maybe not. And I definitely understood, and you've been consistent, Krista, on your position from the beginning. So I'm not. This is not nothing new for me to hear that perspective. But that is. I just want folks to know that we internally will continue those conversations, and continue any initiatives, and we'll be applying them if they make sense to all of our projects. So we can definitely just kind of take a vote in terms of whether that conversation belongs here. I don't have a strong opinion one way or another, but I think we can definitely do that.
Are we calling for a vote?
I think we can. I don't know how we want to do it. We want to do it in the chat or in the or verbally. It's fine with me. Tyler, do you have any recommendations on how we want to move this forward?
I think verbal, and I can just make note of that.
That works. I'm going to go around.
I can call. Yeah.
I think your vote we're going to record your vote as no unless you say something else. That's Brian B.
Who is speaking? Oh, Brian.
Yeah, I just unmuted here. So sorry, I just had to step out of the office. What am I voting on? Is it on adding the other, the meetings together? Is that where we're at?
Yes.
I would stick with Krista's vote as well and not add it at all, or add it to the end.
Thank you. Barb.
Like this being project focused. Happy to work on another committee that is.
Can't hear you, Barb.
I can rephrase. She said no. Elaine.
I say yes, twice.
Mike Tony.
Whatever Met Council wants to do is fine with me. Fine with APJV.
All right. Mike is officially Switzerland. I'm kidding with you, Mike. Don't take it don't beat me
No,
up.
I mean, we don't have an opinion. We're here to support in any way we can.
Yes.
Whatever's taught best by Met Council, that's what we'll do to support.
Gotcha.
Mike hits replay anytime there's a vote like this. He just hits the replay button. Smart man.
Sean.
Well, yeah, I mean, I actually think Mike is on point with this one. I think I will defer to the Met Council as well. So do you have a recommendation, Shanti?
Again, my thing is that some of those conversations naturally carry over to this meeting without being intentional about it. And I am comfortable moving forward as we have on this project, like I said, because the Met Council is committed to this work, and we're going to do it regardless. We don't have to have that conversation as part of this meeting, so to speak. So that's my thoughts and that's my perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fine. I'll say one of the challenges we have with the collaborative is also that there just tend to be a lot of new groups, and it's good conversation, but it also gets really time consuming and doesn't always bear a lot of fruit. So yeah, so I'm fine with that as well.
Tracy?
Hello, everyone. So I'm not a committee member, but I'm here representing Lunda. And my thoughts are similar to Brian and Krista, which is not in this meeting, but if you do it at the end of the meeting.
All right, so I know you don't feel any type of way, but John and Julianne and Rana, I've intentionally left you out of the vote because we can have this conversation amongst ourselves. So my recommendation, Tyler, you can tell me if you agree, is to move forward as we have been. Like I said, I think, like, shouldn't the voting members be the DWAC members? Yes, which is why, yes. But based on what we've heard from the DWAC members that are present, and the number of DWAC members that are present, I think my recommendation is that we move forward as we have been, and keeping this meeting. I know, again, I am definitely geared in and engaged with the Blue Line Extension conversations around DB and workforce, which are happening. And I think between these two meetings, honestly, I believe we have it covered. And we have good conversations as we did today. Go ahead, Elaine.
Yeah, there seems to be some confusion. The Blue Line Committee is a separate committee from the DBE Workforce Industry Committee that John was talking about. So the DBE Workforce Industry Committee is not talking about the BLRT. That's a separate committee. No one is trying to merge that into this one. I don't think that was what John's intention was in recommending that we roll the industry committee back into this DWAC committee.
I don't know who
So I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, no, that was not my intention either. So if anyone got that message from me in my communication, my apologies. That was not my intention at all.
Yeah, Shantae, I would agree with your recommendation. I think that keeping things as they have been is the right decision. Look, that industry committee, I think, was created out of a place of good intent. It lacked intentionality and direction. I think we all kind of were eager and found a passion, and I don't feel the need to apologize for that. But in terms of a working committee, it really didn't have the foundation for success. Not saying that there won't be a time and place to revisit that, but I think keeping this meeting specific to Southwest, keeping Blue specific to Blue, the things that translate in terms of industry commonality will present themselves naturally. And I think that, yeah, so I agree with your stance.
Great. All right. Next, I understand that there may have been some concerns about the canceled February DWAC meeting. I just want to say that, you know, in November, we did kind of set the schedule and say over the winter, based on some feedback we got, also from a survey and conversation, that we over the winter would skip December as we did, and February we would still send out the reports to the committee, and then we would, I think the next in-person is scheduled for April. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but most, if not all, members were in favor of that approach. Anybody else want to have any thoughts on that? Please join in.
Krista has something to say. You guys, this meeting is to talk about, you know, of course, to give the numbers that everybody sees, right? But then it's also to talk to, and for you guys to hear from the contractors about what we are doing to help keep moving that dial up, correct? Is that the whole major, wrapped in a nutshell, goal of this meeting? Okay. Yay, yes.
Definitely say that's a major part of it.
Right? You know, the thing is, you guys, yeah, wintertime we have people laid off, but wintertime is when all of us contractors, not the you know, joint venture, but our subcontractors also, and our unions, this is our busy time for the recruit, educate, advocate, retaining. This is when we are doing, we are creating, and we are launching these type of things. This is when there's time for the discussions to be taking place. And like I said, today, look at how long Krista talked. I cut myself short of the things that I was so excited to tell you guys about that we have coming up. But guess what? We're not meeting next month. Wait a minute. It's a disservice to our entire team, to the contractors, to the unions, to the CBOs, and to you guys, our contract compliance leads, to be missing out on hearing these things, seeing these things, be ready for these things. That is why I asked then and in December and this month to please rethink. And somebody brought up the fact, well, all these people have dropped off. Well, you know what? They dropped off because there wasn't that discussion taking place. Instead, we were pitted against each other. That's why Dan McConnell was brought in, right, Dan? Because the other union guys that were representing, guys and gals, excuse me, said, we're not given our chance, you know, and stuff. We have great things moving forward. So I'm going to stop because you guys all know me. I'm very passionate about what we are doing here on this project. And to cancel meetings during our busiest times of implementing these important industry-wide type things that are focused on our project, our group will still continue to meet. We'll continue to meet with the unions. If you guys choose not to, that's fine. that gives me another 2 hours that I can meet with somebody else, I guess, you know? But that's my representation of the LMJV, Lunda, CS McCrossin, all of our contractors, and the 4 unions that we met with on Tuesday. Thanks.
Thanks, Krista. I will say I'm not entirely sure exactly what you were saying. Were you saying that you agreed with the schedule that we agreed to in terms of meeting every month, or you wanted to continue to meet every month over the winter? I wasn't clear on that.
We should be meeting every single month.
Thank you.
Unless there's some major industry event and we can't push the date or something. But there is absolutely no reason why we should be skipping a month because of project slow time. That's what my big conversation was about us, Shante. My recommendation was we don't skip any months.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Sorry about that.
All right, unless there's any other discussion on that, we can move on to announcements. The one or I have a couple announcements. One is that in December, the council kicked off a study, audit, so to speak, to review our administration of our small business programs, that being DB and MCUB. We have hired a third-party consultant to take a look at that, as well as outcomes and relative to small business in our procurement activities. So if that is of interest of any of the committee members as we move along this process in terms of what comes out of it, the recommendations that come forth from that, you can please reach out. That's scheduled to go on over the course of 2024. And if that's of interest to the folks here, reach out to me and be more than happy to share some of that information. Second is any day now, we're expecting to execute a contract with a third-party vendor to provide supportive services, training, technical assistance, access to resources to small businesses in the region. I wish I could tell you the vendor that was chosen, but still waiting for that contract to be executed before I can announce that name. But that's also going to be coming up in through 2024. And I will say that, some of the services that we've put into the scope are a direct result from the feedback, input, and conversations that have come from this project and lessons learned that we have come across through executing this specific project. So thanks to all of you who contribute to this conversation into this meeting. Anybody else have any other announcements that you'd like to share? All right, Tyler?
Yes, this is the time when we have input on our agenda, time for a public invitation. I don't believe there's anyone signed up to provide any comments. However, you can offer them by email, virtually or in person. You can pre-register by emailing public.info@metc.state.mn.us. You can also send us your comments by email. And there is no one else. There's no one registered. So I think, Ashanti, that we can go ahead and adjourn.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for your participation and good conversation today. This brings the January meeting to a close. The next meeting of our advisory committee will be at the St. Louis Park Project Office and held on March 21st from 2 to 4 p.m. Also, please stay connected via our construction updates, social media, and through the project website. And you can connect with me at any time or project staff. I do not believe I need a motion to adjourn the meeting, so I'm not going to ask for one. This meeting is adjourned.
All right, take care.
Thanks,
everybody.
Santi.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Bye.
Have a good one.